Um, Hello, and welcome to the Performing Arts Global Exchange webinar. My name is Andrew Olness-Olson, and I am Program Director International for Mid-Atlantic Arts. My pronouns are he, him, and I am a white man with shortish blonde hair and brown round glasses. I'm wearing a white button-up shirt that's checked, and also on this call is my colleague, Steph. Steph, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you, Andrew. Hi, everyone. My name is Steph Reyes, and I am Program Associate for Fellowships and International here at Mid-Atlantic Arts. My pronouns are she, her, ella. I am a mixed-race Latina woman in my late 20s with long dark brown hair, wearing a brown long-sleeved shirt, and I have a virtual background featuring a chair, a desk, and the logo of Mid-Atlantic Arts. So let's get started here. So before we get started, I want to share a little bit about Mid-Atlantic Arts for those of you who might not know much about us. Mid-Atlantic Arts is one of the 6 regional arts organizations in the United States. Our member states and territories are Delaware, the District of Columbia, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, Virginia, and West Virginia. We collaborate with state arts agencies, other regional arts organizations, and the National Endowment for the Arts to make the United States a more vibrant place for the arts. Performing Arts Global Exchange is one of those efforts, and it is available to presenters nationwide. This means your organization does not need to be based in the Mid-Atlantic states to participate in the Performing Arts Global Exchange program. We will have a Q&A period during today's webinar. If you like to ask a question, just type it into the Q&A box, access through the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. You can also raise your hand and we'll unmute you so you can ask your question directly. We also have captions provided for this webinar. Feel free to turn those on using the menu option for captions. And I'll pass it to you, Andrew.
Thank you, Steph. So Performing Arts Global Exchange, which you'll hear me refer to today as PAGE, is a Mid-Atlantic Arts grant program in partnership with the National Endowment for the Arts for performing arts presenters nationwide. PAGE is designed to increase the availability of international performing arts programming throughout the United States and to promote greater understanding of other cultures through the performing arts, Presenting international artists offers an opportunity to engage in the rich diversity of cultural expression throughout the world, but it also requires resources that aren't always available. Travel expenses, visas, and routing are often barriers to presenting international artists, especially in the US's more remote communities. PAGE seeks to ease some of those burdens for US presenters by working with international curators to identify a region's most exciting tour-ready artists and providing grant support of up to 50% of the agreed upon artist fee to presenters that book them. We especially seek to support performances in communities with reduced access to international performing arts due to geography or other features. So today we will first hear from the agents that represent the 5 artists on the Performing Arts Global Exchange roster. After hearing about each artist and watching some brief video clips, you'll have a chance to have any questions you may have about the artists answered, and then we'll go over the steps to receiving a PAGE grant. So let's take a look at the incredible artists on the roster this year. Kicking us off is Justine Biodispose of Torito Artists to share a little bit about La Muchacha. Justine, over to you.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks so much for being here. La Muchacha is really the artistic name of a singer-songwriter, Isabel from Colombia, from Manizales, which is in the Eje Cafetero in Colombia. That's the mountainous coffee growing region of Colombia. Her music is very much singer-songwriter, but with an, I'd like to say, an urban edge. She talks about a lot of social issues in her music. She's kind of this nice sort of softness between really beautiful romantic songwriting about her country, and she has songs about the physical beauty of Colombia, the natural beauty of Colombia, but then she has other songs that address very, very prevalent issues of violence, of discrimination. So I would say that she's very much a social activist. She is presenting in a trio format right now. She sings and plays guitar, and the two musicians that accompany her are on upright bass and percussion drums. And I think the other thing to know is that she's very much an activist. She's known for being an activist in Colombia, especially when it comes to gender rights, both for the rights of women and the rights of transgender people and the LGBTQ community at large. In fact, one of the requests that we've already gotten has been for Florida and Miami Beach that is trying to give a greater voice to these voices of resistance. So she is absolutely a great artist to look at if you are looking both at the feminist expression in music, as well as music as a form of social change. Just so that you guys know a little bit more about me, I am the executive director of Torito Arts. We're a 501c3 nonprofit based in Chicago. And one of our largest projects is representing artists through the artist arm, which is Torito Artists. And we work specifically with international musicians touring the US and Canada. Most specifically people who use roots music as their base, but who are bringing that roots music into a contemporary context. So I think that La Muchacha is very much a part of this. And I think she's a great, I know Andrew wanted me to comment on spaces. I think she's a great option for outdoor festivals, but when we get indoors, I think maybe a medium-sized theater is a good spot because again, this is a trio format. So we want to give it the intimacy, and it is a singer-songwriter with very electrically charged lyrics if you speak Spanish. So I think it's great to put it in a space that's a little more, connected to the artist, shall we say, because that becomes the real experience, that exchange of ideas and emotion. And I think an intimate setting is really the most appropriate for her. Andrew, if you want to put on the video that we selected, I can give you a little bit of background. Noa Zara is the name of this song. And it has actually become an anthem for the LGBTQ movement. It is a song written about gender violence. And you'll see if you watch it on YouTube that it has 3.3 million views. So this has become a really important part of a movement in Colombia. Go ahead.
A mí no me calla su sevicia, ni sus máscaras de la maldad, porque vengo con combo azaroso, que no come de su autoridad, y le hacemos fuerza a la semilla, porque usted la trata de ilegal. Tenemos el power de la minga, power y junta para alimentar, y le hacemos fuerza a la semilla, y porque usted la trata de ilegal. Tenemos el power de la minga, power y junta para alimentar, y a mí que me disparen de frente y que sea en la puerta de mi casa, porque yo me muero en tierra mía y a mí de esta tierra no me saca.
right, any closing comments, Justine? Otherwise, we'll pass over to the next artist.
I think you actually cut it right at the right part where she says, I mean, the sentiment that she says at the very end there is, I don't have any reason to take these bullets that fall at the feet of my house. So I think that's, you know, she's an extremely powerful musician. She has a beautiful voice. This song doesn't highlight her voice. I encourage you to go to YouTube and listen to more. She has songs where you hear the absolute beautiful range of her voice. This song is more about empowerment. But I think, you know, she's also a poet. We are talking to a poetry festival, as a matter of fact, is another one of the presenters that wants to present her through the Page program. So she's a poet, she's a social activist, she is a musician, she is an empowered woman. I think all of these reasons are great ones to add her to any lineup. But she's also extremely talented. So, so there you have it. I think that's about it. If anybody has questions later, I'm happy to answer them.
Great. Thank you, Justine. Okay, so next up on the roster is Luciani Dom. Jose, feel free to take over.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for being here. My name is Jose Corbelo. I work with Home Team Management. And I have 20 years experience working with artists from South America, Uruguay, Argentina, and Brazil in presenting at PACs, universities, festivals, theaters in the United States, doing the whole visa process, which is a big plus with this project with the Page grant. And I think Andrew, you'll probably talk about that here later. With Home Team, we worked with groups such as Frankie Tanky, Grammy-winning Frankie Tanky, as well as American Petra Quartet, U.S.-based groups. I did the EBIT exchange program through Mid-Atlantic last year with a group from Brazil, Alejandro Brites, who's touring again this fall. And Luciani Dom, I have the pleasure to be working with her. Luciani Dom is from Rio in Brazil. She works a lot in Brazil. Right now, she's doing large tours through the SESC circuits, which is a chain of cultural centers throughout the entire Brazil, and they do cultural circulation amongst all the states for the different cultural expressions and voices of a hugely and marvelously diverse country such as Brazil, for voices to circulate throughout that country. She was just featured at Blue Note in Sao Paulo, and Luciani, and we'll see in the music that we'll play. She is definitely rooted in Brazilian music and in Afro-Brazilian music, in the different genres and the different rhythms and the different musical worlds there. But she also dialogues, and what happens a lot in Brazil, people are very plugged in to what goes on in other countries. So in her music, she definitely employs other genres, as far as U.S. genres, jazz, hip hop, R&B, different African styles. And in her lyrics and in what she does, there is a lot of talking about diaspora. What is the African diaspora throughout the world? And so it's hard to kind of stereotypically put her music into, this is Brazilian music. And that's, I think, the benefit that that we have with Luciani, is that in her aesthetics and in the message and the genres, she's quote unquote Brazilian music or world music, but she's also working with idioms, musical idioms that American U.S. publics are familiar with. She has a history degree from the Universidade do Estado do Rio de Janeiro, and so she definitely has on the education and the because the community component is a big part of what the Page program is, and so Luciani is definitely bringing that academic side, the history side, to be able to do lecture demonstrations, the workshops, and trilingual, because she speaks fluent Spanish, fluent Portuguese, obviously, and then in fluent English. And she's toured several times, a few different times here in the United States, being featured at Brazil Summerfest, with Lincoln Center, Celebrate Brooklyn. She was awarded the Rising Star of the Year by the African Entertainment Awards. So she's it's definitely not her first experience here in the United States, and she has a very good rapport with audiences, because there's not a lot of Portuguese-speaking audiences, outside of like Boston and Florida and New York. So she's very accessible to publics that don't speak Portuguese. Her lyrics, again, this is a big theme, which is cool with the Page program this year. The lyrics are very socially conscious. They pull no punches. I think that's important in what she's bringing to the table as well. She's calling out a lot of structural injustices in Brazilian society, which obviously are not just specific to Brazil. So I think it's and she's able to communicate that in English and explain to audiences. But it's also very, very danceable. So definitely works well with the festivals. That's one of the things that I'm going to be focusing on, is getting her in front of large audiences. Works in festivals, works in PACs, but also could work in small, cabaret type formats. The college campus style, performance halls. She definitely does really good educational work. She's going to be touring with her drum set, bass, percussion, keyboard. So the back line isn't too esoteric. It's pretty basic. And the touring periods that we have with her, since she has a lot of stuff blocked off for the Sesqui circuit in Brazil, I'm looking more at June, late June of 2025. We have some Midwest opportunities in the earlier part of October. And that's what I'd like to focus on. Presenters who are involved with educational institutions, really like to be able to engage them. This summer, the colleges are in session, and the festivals, are more with the festival experience. So those are the two periods that I'm looking at. And I'm with her, I'm really looking at the country as a whole, and being able to do routing via air. Do some ground, but the festivals I'd be focusing more on like the key dates, and then doing the air. So we would have the local ground meals, lodging for 7. So and I think we can see her latest performance at Blue Note in Sao Paulo. And the song is Kabile, and it talks about precisely the African diaspora throughout the Americas and throughout the world, and how there's the commonalities and the linkages that people have, as opposed to being divided along language and nation. So you can play the video.
Todo tempo resgatar qual cultura pra sonhar. Como posso me encontrar? Língua canta meu lugar. Todo tempo resgatar qual cultura pra sonhar. Kabila é minha voz, Kabila é minha voz, Kabila é minha voz.
All right, thank you, Jose. Any final thoughts there? Otherwise, we'll move forward.
No, I'll look forward to speaking with you all. I've reached out to a few of you prior to the webinar, and I was with some of you guys at APAP and everything, and I'm really excited about engaging you guys and throwing some dates and seeing what we can put together. And then I'll get started on the visas here beginning next week.
All right, great. And so over to Espiral Siete. Justine, take it away.
Hello again. So Espiral Siete is a band from Cali, Colombia. Cali, in case you don't know, is the home of Colombian salsa. It's a very musically rooted area on the Pacific coast of, well, Cali, the city is on the interior, but its departamento, its state is on, touches the Pacific coast of Colombia. The Pacific coast of Colombia is very well known for maintaining a lot of its African rhythms that came with the slave trade. And so Espiral Siete is a band that describes itself as creating the Neo-Cali sound. And most of that Neo-Cali sound is very much highly tied to those Afro-Colombian rhythms. But they're one of these bands that's a little bit difficult to describe because they take from so many different styles of music. They are a little bit of Latin pop rock, they're a little bit of Latin jazz, they're a little bit of salsa, they're a little bit of funk. And what I find very exciting about their music is that it seems like each song is different. Each song is sort of highlighting a slightly different style, and that makes them very exciting. They are touring in a sextet format. They are very lively and upbeat, so they're excellent for outdoor performances, as well as for spaces where there's only standing room. So you can do this as sort of a dance party style show. They are very charismatic on stage. There's a lot of movement, a lot of joy. And as far as potential community outreach programs, they're very, very interested in sort of spreading information about the Afro-Colombian rhythms. So they would love to do workshops where they potentially work with other percussionists, other musicians to go a little more in depth into those rhythms. They, again, I encourage you to go to YouTube. They have a lot of videos, both a lot of live recorded videos as well as a lot of music videos. I did not select one of my favorite of their music videos, which is the most recent one. I particularly love it because it's very folkloric in sound, and it was actually written by the uncle of Harley, who you're seeing here singing and with the saxophone. And it's an absolutely gorgeous song. It's called La Creciente. I very much recommend that you listen to it just because of its folkloric origins and just the beauty with which it's performed. But we did take a sort of more upbeat, sort of more typically sounding Espiral Siete song for this clip. So Andrew, if you want to go ahead, you can give us that.
Amargura, su vida la rumba y esquiva la tumba. El viaje termina, regresa a su casa, aterriza en su cuarto y exige la cena. Su madre le responde, no seas descarado, si tú no te ajuicias, la muerte te va a llevar. Y él te contestó, a mí la muerte no me asusta, sale tempranito a trabajar, a mí la muerte no me asusta, se para el vicio pero no para portarle a su mamá. A mí la muerte no me asusta. Cuidado, que te van a disparar. A mí la muerte no me asusta. Corre vago y ponte a estudiar. ¡Vamos!
All right, I think we'll stop that there. Thanks so much for sharing about Espiral Siete. We've got two more artists to share with you. So let's go on to, there we are, Las Guaracheras from Colombia. Jose?
Yeah, so Las Guaracheras is a all-woman salsa sextet, also from Cali, and with vibraphone. And they're great to work with. I've been dealing with them with Laura Linares, the leader of the group, and Max, their management. And also that's another thing that I want to emphasize with these page artists. They're great artists and they're great professionals as well. Their management is great, and that's why they were selected for the roster this year. Las Guaracheras have definitely played a lot in big festival environments in different parts of Latin America, and definitely in Colombia. In Mexico City, they've toured Canada, they've toured Europe and Spain. It's obviously a genre that's well known, right? Salsa, and the sound that they give it is definitely. Justine said. Cali is also a salsa. It's produced so many super well-known salsa artists throughout the decades, and so their sound is very approachable because it's something that's been the soundtrack for a lot of people's lives and their parents' lives and their uncles and aunts' lives for a long time, and they have the vibraphone sound, which harks back to the Joe Cuba, Orquesta Broadway, that era of the 1960s in New York. So, but they have a flip side. So they deconstruct, obviously, as we know, within the salsa world and then the whole Spanish tropical music world, there is a heavy dose of machismo and a heavy dose of that whole element that's been involved in, both the content and in the industry, and then also in who was up on stage and who wasn't up on stage. So in their lyrics and in what they're in the proposal of what they do, it's criticizing that, but also celebrating what salsa is and celebrating that whole process, and definitely not relegating the female protagonism within salsa just to be a lead singer or a dancer, but you have the percussion, the keyboards, the vibraphone, everything. So, and they're young women, so I think they're very approachable to younger publics, presenters that are doing the stuff in schools, with junior high level, high school level kids, and I think that's important. I've done a lot of stuff in the schools before, and I think it's really important to have young people presenting to other young people. And obviously they're bringing a genre that this new generation of young people probably don't have much contact with, which is the classic salsa sound. I have a lot of interest for them. My main thing now is being able to get the routing right and making sure that we have the dates available. I have routing in I'm trying to build routing in festivals in mid-August of this year. We definitely have the Hispanic Heritage Month, September to October timeframe, and we're looking at mainly Midwest, but also we have different other routings as well for that. That's Hispanic Heritage Month of this year. We have April 2025 East Coast routing that was confirmed. This is routing that I already have offers in. It's just a matter of making the dates and everything work. And then we have June, mid to late June 2025 as well. Definitely festivals and summer series. They work very well on festival style, but they also we're also doing cabaret, like the jazz club style stuff, and it's definitely a dance oriented group. They don't necessarily dance up on stage, but if you're thinking about spaces that allow for dance, I think that's really important. If you guys have black box spaces or performance spaces that can be transformed to allow for dancing, and that's a huge public to tap into, is precisely the salsa dancing community. So I think they have a lot of elements working for them, and they have a lot of great materials. And their education stuff is really good. They do a lot of diverse stuff, from working with doing the percussion and music master classes, dealing with salsa, and then the other genres from the Pacific region of Colombia. But they also do workshops on professional development about women within the salsa industry or the music industry in general. And they also they can be done bilingually. They have a few members that speak English. So I think they're a really great group, and I'm getting a lot of interest for them. So and with both Luciani and with Las Guaracheras, I'm incentivizing their management to invest in the media outreach, because I think that's really what's gonna drive a lot of the public's interest for them is how their stories are engaging to a wider public. So we'll watch a recent live performance in El Zócalo. I think it's in El Zócalo in Mexico. And yeah, definitely. And then you can see, we put the subtitles on the video so you can, see what the content is about.
Ella se levantó de tantas cosas malas, con tanto sacrificio, pero no se rindió, sufriendo humillaciones, ultrajes y prejuicios, cediendo su grandeza para que los otros crezcan, pero llegó a su límite, venció todos sus miedos, que llegó hasta el suelo. Ella se levantó. Ahora mírala, 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 mírala cómo va con su seguridad. Ahora mírala, 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 va con paso firme, vestida de virtud.
All right, and that is Las Guaracheras. Thank you.
Just to close, just so you know, it's all original material. So we're not necessarily doing the covers; it's original material. And also, I'll be reaching out to you guys about a past Mid-Atlantic artist that I was talking about, Alejandro Brites, who's not on the page program, but we have him touring, who performs music chamamé from the border of Argentina and Brazil. So if I talk with you guys about him as well, I'm definitely interested in talking with you about what he does as well.
All right, thank you, Jose. And that takes us to Luigi Luna from Brazil. We've got Mira from Fort Agency joining, as well as her manager from her management from Brazil, Ricardo. So take it away. All right, Mira, do we have you here?
Oh, I think I was on mute. Sorry.
There you are. Perfect. Yep, we can hear you now.
Sorry about that. So I'll reintroduce myself again. My name is Mira Silvers. I'm the head of music and live music agent at Fort Agency. We have outposts in Chicago, Montreal, and London. We are representing Luigi Luna, who's Brazil's most powerful voices right now in the market. She sits on the intersection of neo soul, R&B, jazz, and it is quite something. It is a very unique experience. She is definitely a voice in contemporary Brazilian popular music right now, and has been nominated for a Latin Grammy in 2021, as well as been platformed on global video platforms such as Tiny Desk and Colors. She is an activist within the realm of Black and Brown communities and a feminist. She really likes to dive into her ancestry and bring her art up with powerful messages of resistance, belief, and depth. So here for her US tour, we're looking for about 50 to 60 minutes, and it's obviously adaptable to the programming available and the slots. Her configuration, while she does have a full band for the US, we'd probably be looking to bring a smaller configuration. The dates that we're looking for are mid-August to September, and potentially some spot dates mid-September onwards, with again, spot dates in November, and then from December 2024 onwards, available for touring in the various cultural institutions. And sort of what we're looking for are soft ticket plays as well as existing programming within the cultural platforms that all of your institutions must have for their programming. We're keen to work with partners to really build her voice and also extend her activism within the community programs, such as outreach, working with the marginalized communities in underserved community centers or schools or other community organizations that you may have current and new relationships with.
All right, great. Thanks, Mira. All right, if we start the video clip now. Here we go.
I was going to add a few bits and pieces that I forgot to mention initially. One being she is going to be opening in London, in the UK for Use of Days, for his upcoming festival, Summer Days. So it should give you an idea of the sort of contemporary lanes that she is looking to cross into. We want to really make sure that, you know, her contemporary appeal really resonates with younger communities in the United States.
Sorry about that. Keep going, Mira.
Oh, okay, sorry. So we really think that she would be a really great fit for folks who are super into, especially younger folks and younger members of your institutions who are super into R&B, neo soul, similar to the likes of Use of Days, Erykah Badu, Jill Scott. And so maybe that could be a point of reference. Both Ricardo will be available and Andrew for any questions. I apologize that I have to hop off, but I'm looking forward to receiving emails from everyone. And Andrew kindly has presented everyone's emails on this lovely slide.
Thanks so much for joining, Mira. Have a good conference. And yeah, so that brings us to the kind of Q&A portion here. I know we've been getting a few questions in the chat. So feel free to use the question answer feature to ask any other questions you might have or drop them in the chat and we'll get to them. One question we already answered is, you know, just a question confirming the booking period. We are providing grant support for these artist tours in the US between July 1st, 2024 and June 30th, 2025. So artists are touring at some point in that time frame. Let me scroll back up through the chat. We had a question about whether we serve Canada. We would not be able to provide grant support to a presenter in Canada, but I'm sure many of these artists would still be happy to talk with you about having a performance in Canada. So, you know, don't let that put you off. Feel free to be in touch with the agents and see if an engagement in Canada would still work. You know, if there's availability between some of the US states, that could work really well, particularly as someone's headed up the East Coast. Let me just scroll through here. We have a question from Charlie Robin asking about Espiral Siete. Are they, Justine, could you confirm whether they're touring with or without their female singer? And make sure you
Sorry,
unmute yourself.
took me a second to unmute myself. Sorry about that. So they do not tour. Well, I mean, I don't know if maybe you've heard choruses with a female singer, but the lead singer is Harlinson, who also plays the saxophone. So they have a female percussionist. I don't know if that might be who's being referenced.
At least I think, Charlie, that you are asking specifically about Espiral Siete. Feel free, if you want, I can also unmute you to ask a question, or if you can add some clarification in the chat. In the meantime, Dominic asked if there's a one-page pricing sheet for all of these artists. That is not something we have currently put together, but I can talk to the agents about it. Otherwise, I'd really just recommend reaching out to agents for artists that you're interested in, and starting a quick discussion about pricing, or some of the agents have dropped their phone numbers here in the chat as well. So feel free to just give them a quick call and see if it's something that would work for your situation. All right, let's see, we've got a few more questions. And so, yes, right after this, we will go through the grant process to clarify that for everybody. We've got a question from Joe Leota. What expenses are included? Artist fees, lodging, meals, tech support. The grant is specifically measured against the artist fee. It's a discussion with the agent about other additional expenses beyond that: lodging, tech support, meals, etc. Lara asks, is there a suggested requested fee for each artist? Yes, and that would be, I'd recommend reaching out to the agents. Feel free to correct me, folks, if I'm wrong, but just to reach out to you for artists that you're interested in booking, and they can share with you details on pricing. And then another question here about Espiral Siete from John Thomas. What is the full complement? Are they traveling with tech staff? Justine, you want to take that one?
Yes, so even though it's 6 performers on stage, they are traveling with a sound tech and a tour manager. So it's ultimately 8 people on tour.
Okay. Well, then we do have just a few minutes left here on the call. Feel free to keep questions coming in. Lara, I see your message here. Steph, if you could please just take down Lara's details, and we'll make sure to send you Mira's phone number via email. I unfortunately don't have that on me right now, but we can get that to you. Or it looks like Ricardo's got it added to the chat. Thank you, Ricardo. But yes, let's quickly work through the remaining slides here about the actual grant process. So now that we've seen those rosters, the incredible artist roster, I want to just clarify what it takes to be eligible for the program. First, you have to be based anywhere in the United States and its territories. Second, you do need to be a 501c3 nonprofit organization or a unit of state, local, or tribal government. So many universities are units of state, or municipal performance venues would also count under this requirement. Fiscal sponsorship is not permitted for this program. So if you are a for-profit venue and you're wanting to work with a 501c3, that's not really something that we would support through this program. I also just want to share that you will need to submit a SAM UEI in the grant form. This is a new number that the federal government requires of anybody receiving federal grant funds. If you don't know what a SAM UEI is, it doesn't usually take that long to get, but happy to walk you through that process. We've got a great kind of how-to on our website. Most nonprofits have already secured a SAM UEI at this point. And then lastly, you just need to be in good standing with Mid-Atlantic Arts. And that means that if you have received a grant from us before, you don't have any overdue final reports or grant documents. Okay, so what are the engagement requirements? In order to receive a page grant for one of these artists, you have to contract with a page roster artist for at least one public performance and at least one community engagement activity that builds appreciation for the performance or art form. And that needs to provide the public or those who are attending the engagement activity with direct interaction with the artists. This program is all about creating cross-cultural exchange between your audience and these international artists. So the engagement opportunities are an extremely important step to achieving that goal. To that end, these activities could include things like masterclasses, lecture demonstrations, workshops, or panel discussions and Q&A sessions. We encourage you to be creative with the community engagement component and speak about it with the agents to see, what you could work out that would best work in your specific situation. It is important to talk about the community engagement because it may impact the artist fee if it's something that would require them to stay in town for an extra day. Otherwise, let's talk quickly about grant restrictions. If you are interested in multiple artists, good news, you can book up to 2 ensembles from the roster and receive a grant for both of them. Each engagement is considered a separate award, and documentation will be required for each. These grants are based on demand and are available only as long as the grant funds allow. So we do encourage you to secure engagements as soon as possible. Please fill up the agents' inboxes with emails or with phone calls. Lastly, I'll just share that grants also must be matched on a one-to-one basis. And we'll go over that in more detail. And it's kind of built into the structure of how we set this up as being a grant that can only be up to 50% of the artist fee. So no matter what, you're always matching the amount of grant that we pay out. Funding is restricted to the direct cost of the project, so you do need to use the funds given for this grant to pay the artist fee. I'll talk through this process, but the fee subsidy is not fully guaranteed until confirmed by us. It is something you talk about with the agent, and we do try and keep it as open and clear as possible so there aren't any surprises in that process. So how do you receive a grant award? Simply review the artist roster that we went over today, contact the agents directly to negotiate terms of the engagement, including the artist-involved community engagement activity and any potential fee subsidy. We don't want the size of the grant you receive to be a surprise, so have an open conversation with the agent about how much you can contribute to the engagement and how much grant support would be needed to make it work. Not everyone receives a grant of 50% of the artist fee, but just make sure to talk over that with the agent. Once you've come to an agreement, offer letters need to be sent to agents by April 15th, 2024, so about 6 weeks away, and they need to include the presenter's name, contact info, dates for the public performance and community engagement, and then the negotiated fee and recommended grant support amount that you've discussed with the agent. So after the booking period ends on April 15th, the agents will send to us all of the offer letters that they've received, and then I and my colleague Steph will contact you directly at the end of April. At that point, we will tentatively confirm the grant amount you've been approved for, recommended for, and we'll provide instructions to fill out a short informational form by May 17th. Let me promise, you do not need to be a grant writer to fill out the form. This is not a competitive grant. We just use the submitted information to confirm eligibility and make sure that you're planning on carrying out all aspects of the performance and community engagement activity. After we receive all those submitted forms back from you, we take them to our board of directors for final approval, and then grant award agreements are sent out at the end of June, confirming the grant. So we encourage the participation of presenters from a variety of eligible organizations to take part in the program. Grant sizes do vary and can support up to 50% of the artist fee negotiated between the agent and the presenter. Grants typically range between $2,000 and $8,000. So just to quickly show how simple the application process is, I'm going to change my screen share over to the actual grant form that you have to fill out. Most folks, I would say, can fill it out in kind of 30 to 45 minutes. And again, if you don't consider yourself a strong writer, please don't worry about it. Let me just get this screen share selected. Here we go. Okay. So filling out the form is super easy. You've got 4 tabs here across the top. The first one is just information about your organization. Some pretty basic stuff, the EIN, the SAM-UEI I mentioned, your contact information, and then just a little bit of information about your organization, about employees, and some budget figures for the prior year, current year, and the next year. So some pretty basic information here. If you have any questions about these kind of federal questions here, let me know. Otherwise, the project tab is really the bulk of the rest of it. You select the artist you're contracting with, the performance, the project dates, the number of performances, a estimate of audience attendance. This could be, if you usually sell 80% of your hall, whatever that figure would be, and then stating the full artist fee here. So we want to see the grant is calculated based off of the overall fee. So if it's an $8,000 fee, you could get up to a $4,000 grant. So you want to make sure to put $8,000 here, not the $4,000 you would consider yourself paying out of your own budget. Upload the contract, and then share a few details about the community engagement that you're planning on sharing. So again, some short questions here, just to share a little bit about what you hope to get out of the community engagement activity. The final 2 tabs for our records is just a few kind of details about the type of organization that you are. This is information we need to collect for the NEA. So pretty quick there. And then lastly, it's just signing the certification page. So all in all, a very short form, does not take long to fill out. We know you all have a lot of other things to do, so try to keep this as efficient as possible for your sakes. So let's hop back to the PowerPoint. We have just a few quick final things to go over here before we get to the end of our hour. So here's just a quick example of how a grant award might work. First, you'd reach out to an agent and discuss the terms of the agreement. You might agree to a fee of $7,000. And in that discussion, share that you can cover up to $4,000, but would really need the grant to fill in the remaining. So here, Mid-Atlantic is supplying a grant of $3,000. Since you are paying more than the grant, since $4,000 is more than $3,000, you're meeting that one-to-one match. So really, the one-to-one match is not something you need to worry about. You just need to make sure that the funds you're using towards the artist fee are not from a different federal grant. So yeah, that's really it. If you do contract an artist, after the engagement, there is also a short final report that needs to be filled out. We pay out 90% of the grant in advance of the engagement and 10% at the end after we receive that final report. So just a reiteration, the offer letter needs to go to the agent by April 15th. We'll then be in touch with you by the end of the month saying, hey, you've been recommended for a grant of X amount, please go fill out this form. And so really you should be in the know about that grant amount kind of throughout the process so that there are no surprises. And then that form will just need to be completed by May 17th. If you have received a page grant in a prior year, you are eligible to get 2 grants this year again. We don't say that, oh, you presented an artist last year, you can't get it this year. That's not what's happening. Yeah. So if you did book one of our great South Korean artists from the program last year, don't worry, you can definitely take part again and book one of these artists as well. Right, and we might have, okay, I think that's everything. You have my details as well if you have any questions. I know we are at the end of our hour, so thank you so much for attending, hearing a little bit more about these incredible artists from Colombia and Brazil, and we look forward to hopefully supporting them coming to your town. Thank you so much. Reach out to me if you have any additional questions. Thank you all.